Hey, this is Notser, and we're going to do something different. We're going to talk about an unreleased ship. It's the Italian battleships, and specifically the Tier 9 Lepanto. I have not been able to play these, even though I do have access of for, months at this point. For those of you who don't know, one of my cats is very ill and takes up all my time. So the only time I have is pretty much just streaming. I do intend to do more YouTube. Obviously, I enjoy it. It's time consuming, and I don't have time. And I have to be very, very efficient with my time. So Twitch is just an easier format to produce content and takes less time, total. So let's talk about the Italian battleships as if I've played them only one day on stream, because I have. So please understand, I probably don't know anything. I'm just coming from the standpoint of excitement. So, the Tier 9 Lepanto is a 12-gun, 381 Italian battleship. And it takes forward sort of the Roma-style armor scheme, and it works very well. The Roma's armor is not the disappointment. We all know what the disappointment is for the Roma. It's the gun accuracy. And that is, unfortunately, the main trait of the Italian battleship line. Sorry about me laughing at the unfortunate design. As someone who, prides themselves on accurate first shot battleship play, it kills me to have this kind of inconsistent guns. And, the Germans suffer a lot from it. The Italians certainly do as well. And there's no good way to get around that. You're just going to have to deal with it. So I suggest that we come at it with an open heart, and maybe we can find some fun with the shotgunniness. Because, yeah, it's weird. But this is a different line. We're coming at this new and fresh, right? Come on, flashbacks of Roma. Please, no. No, of course not. It's not going to be flashbacks because SAP is actually pretty good against cruisers and battleships. It does a really good amount of damage to both of those classes. But you notice I only said cruisers and battleships. Clearly, aircraft carriers, they hide. They're cowards. But DDs, the DDs are the ones which are a surprise because SAP is such a devastating weapon with both Palo, the Tier 9 Premium DD, and also the Italian cruisers. It's actually a disadvantage to fire your SAP round at a DD that's closer than a cruiser or a battleship for the most damage output. It's actually less efficient for you to fire at the DD than for you to engage a cruiser or a battleship in the background, which means it's kind of awkward. You kind of have a battleship line that has short range and isn't encouraged to fire on DDs because their damage is less efficient against them. Okay, that's interesting. Well, the mystery is kind of revealed when you look at the recommended build for the battleship, and in it, they recommend secondary gun range. They recommend the brawler skill. Inside of your secondary gun range, you can improve your gun reload. Well, yeah, you'll need to because the gun reload is really slow. Like, horrendous damage per minute against DDs. Slow. So, they're basically saying, without saying it, this is borderline secondary battleships. And they definitely feel like it. So, I did some investigation. I've tried a gun range build, which you're seeing right now, which, it works pretty well. I have the legendary commander, Luigi Sansonetti, and he is just as broken on the Italian battleships as he is for the Italian cruisers. So, any people who are excited for playing Italian battleships, you're going to be excited using him. And I'll get into that as well. Once again, the mystery continues. Encouraged to get range. Interesting. So, we have secondaries over here. which is, it could be a valid, or you kind of go full range. So that's a queue for secondaries, one queue for range. We'll get over to the smoke, where the smoke is great. Instantly conceals your battleship. It feels just as insane as it sounds, and it's awesome. You instantly conceal yourself, and if you haven't fired, you will have, 2-kilometer detection instantly. If you fired, it's basically as if you aren't even in smoke, but now you've cut your vision to 0. So it has the same downsides as the Italian cruisers, and the Italian DD for that matter, but the Italian DD has a really small gun caliber, so it's not that big of a deal. It's a really big deal to fire your gun in your smoke. You pretty much waste half of it, unless you can sort of cut the vision with an island or something like that. That is a huge penalty to pay for basically your entire trait of a battleship. So it's one of those things where this skill really encourages me to stay back. Like Italian cruisers, they stay back and they use their gun velocity and they use their superior maneuverability. So when someone fires at them, they can either decide to, pop their smoke first before someone's about to reload, like a big battleship. They can use that for, capturing a base under concealment, which is a very useful tool, especially if they don't have radar. Obviously, radar sees through the smoke, but using the smoke in the back, instantly cutting your vision when you know your opponent is about to fire and allowing you to fully reload, you can basically cancel out 1 to 2 salvos of an enemy battleship. In a matchup like me versus a Thunderer, Thunderer basically can fire twice for every time I fire. If I pop my smoke, potentially I am given a chance, obviously assuming someone else is out there spotting them, to fire again before he can fire at me. Huge potential to take out these big battleships, and obviously you can use your aircraft to see outside if they're close enough. But there's a lot of interesting gameplay available here. And as you can see in this game, pretty much just firing sap. The only reason you would ever fire AP is if sap had no area where it could penetrate. So, if the only part you were seeing was like the 150 millimeter armor on the Kremlin, and he was broadside, and for whatever reason his superstructure was blocked off, and his bow and stern were blocked off, and it was a weird in-between island. If for whatever reason you only saw just this little portion, you would then want to load AP, of course, because you would be unable to do it. Now look how much vision is still on our ship when we have fired. 15.8, roughly. So you have worse concealment than you start with if you fire with your smoke, basically making it useless and in fact making it a penalty for yourself. But if you use your smoke, you can then ambush someone. Maybe they fire at another target. You wait for them to fire, and then they've committed, and you get sap on them, and you do tons and tons of damage. I mean, that's obviously a big plus and a big win. And you can move around, maybe concealing a teammate or concealing multiple teammates. It's big enough that I've seen 2-3 battleships sitting inside of it. That's a pretty big force multiplier of a tool. But of course, when you fire, it's basically a penalty for yourself. So you're not encouraged to fire unless you can have some way of making sure you don't take too much damage, or if it's not a big deal, whatever, or if you want people to fire at you, or if everyone's spotting you. Pretty much, all these situations give you an out for saying, okay, whatever, who cares. But obviously, taking full advantage of smoke, that's something that you're trying to do. That's where secondaries are an interesting topic here, because secondaries can work 100% and don't cause any bloom whatsoever of a battleship. And I have played a secondary build with this, and I got in basically secondary gun range, which was 10.5, unfortunately. I got within 10.5 of some battleships, racked up like 34,000 damage in about a minute and 30, and set 4 fires like it was nothing. They have 90 millimeters and 152. There's some formula there where it just like wants to Roman candle the targets, maybe good firing angles. Regardless, really felt very empowered. So I would imagine a smoke secondary build being very fun and rewarding, save for maybe the range a little bit. I would like 11.5 if I'm being honest, but you know, whatever. But there is potential in that playstyle, and I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, secondaries being where they are, rest in peace. I mean, obviously they'll be better at some point, but gosh, I'm just so disappointed in them that they have no defense. Anyway, the potential playstyle is pretty exciting when you consider a secondary smoke build, but you can't play smoke inefficiently, as many people have discovered with the Italian cruisers. They're not for everyone. But if you can take the full advantage of what smoke offers you, a lot of ambush potential, a lot of everything, and ooh, here we go. Get this nice broadside. Easily do huge amount of damage, and I mean like a huge amount of damage. These guys with sap on cruisers and battleships, you are very, very afraid of the sap broadside. So that's why, you know, this feels pretty British. So I got a lot of different feelings playing this. Oh God, here's a DD. You would think, oh man, look at him. You really need all 12 guns to hit for it to feel like a big bursty damage. And I'm trying to line up, but we have that shotgun effect. And we get some damage on him. We break his guns. Actually, wow, we crushed him. See, 8. We had 8 shells, but ooh, we paid for it. We paid dearly. So in that situation, yeah, it works well. But it's inefficient to fire maybe at, 12 to 15 kilometers, maybe even 10 to 15 kilometers on a DD. Unless, of course, there's literally nothing else to do, then yeah, I guess you make that choice. But pop and smoke allows us to disengage, move in a crafty way. It's a fun tool, and I'm glad it's here. You can see the size of it. It's just large enough for basically the ship itself, and you can have 2 battleships that are running parallel, or, you can try and fit as many people as you want in it. We'll see. But really impressive damage on battleships and cruisers with SAP. Really disappointed in the AP, but, I mean, this is what we expected, or we should have expected. Not so you should have expected this. The Tier 9, it works well. The turret traverse is very quick, very fast, basically best in class. I have not seen one. I think my build was touching like 25 seconds because I went range. So, yeah, very fast turret traverse for the size of the guns. Obviously, this is a game. This is not real life. But man, it was fun to play it this way. So this build in particular is a range build. So slot 6 range. We obviously have the commander that is a range guy. He extends it further. So 2 for 2 on those, right? And then I take all the tank skills. You could consider taking Deadeye if you really want to commit to the sniper role. I am pretty much a universal soldier, so I like to get in close, stay far, all those things. So tank is me. But you could do that and play it in the back, and honestly, do very well. I'm going to be playing more of these guys on my stream. You can catch me at twitch.tv/Notser, of course. Thanks again. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can click the most recent or the most relevant uploads. You can also choose to subscribe to my channel. We do World of Warship videos. Thanks. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.